spasm of Maoist cultural violence continues. Recently, we talked to someone who supports tearing down statues that offend delicate modern sensibilities. Here's what happened. So let me just say at the outset that I'm kind of sympathetic to your point of view. I mean, I wouldn't want to see something that offended me every day. There was an Al Sharpton monument on my street, you know, a Marion Barry monument. I wouldn't like it. So I don't, you know, if you're offended by these monuments, I totally get that. But here's my question.
It's not that I'm offended. It's an offense to the United States of America to honor war criminals, to honor those who were traitors.
So that's.
They're traitors to our country.
So that's the standard. I just want to know what the... Well, they certainly were traitors to our country. They started their own country. I mean, by definition, I'm fully aware of that. And human rights violators. So the combination is there's no country on the planet, no society that would honor those people with credentials like that. Except ours, because it was a civil war. And I agree with your definition. I mean, they were traitors to America, but then they came back into America. They reintegrated into America. That was the point. The country broke. And then it came back, oh, absolutely, and thank God they did. But it was a civil war. It wasn't like we were invaded, and so it's a little bit more complicated than that. But here's my question. Does your view of this apply to all slaveholders or just Civil War figures?
It's not just Civil War figures, but Civil War Confederate heroes and leaders are not to be honored in any shape, manner, or form as a societal imperative. And the fact that we're coming to our senses with the statues and with the stars and bars, the American swastika, they all must fall. We thought we had resolved this in Charlotte a couple of years ago. It's still not resolved, and so we're moving expeditiously in every form and fashion to complete the task of eradicating these symbols of hatred and division. Now,
well, I actually think you've got to more. You've got to
say the issue of slaveholders.
Can I say one thing? Just so you know, let me just inform you one thing. And I'm not even arguing with you. I'm just saying one of the reasons this hasn't been resolved is because the public is not for doing this. Only a small minority, only about a quarter of people polled yesterday in the United States thought that these monuments should come down. Over 60% said they should remain as historical remnants of an earlier age. So, like, you need to get the public on board before you do this. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, the height of the civil rights movement, there were a lot of people who said that you need to go slow, you need to take your time, and now the people who they were saying that to are American heroes. So sometimes heroes, just like the people at the Boston Tea Party, if you had polled Boston, there would have been people who said, why are you throwing our tea in the harbor? So sometimes people...
Well, because it wasn't a democracy then. Wait, hold on. It was not a democracy. Well, hold on. No. We had... No. So you've given up on the idea of representative government, of voting for things?
No, I haven't given up on anything.
You think that...
I haven't given up on anything.
It sounds like you have.
What I'm saying is that I understand that some people who champion social justice get it before the main society gets it. Just as some people in the Republican Party were slow to get that their president is dysfunctional.
Okay. Yeah. Let's get back to the question of slaveholders, though, because I think this is a meaningful one. I think you make a more defensible point on the Civil War question. But what bothers me about the idea that all slaveholders need to be erased from American history is
I think the issue is not being erased from history. It's being not celebrated. If you put your name on a building, you're being celebrated.
Washington. Okay. Well, the city I live in is named after the founder of the country, the first president, whose plantation, which was populated by slaves, is right down the road at Mount Vernon. So, I mean, this is not a rhetorical question. That's a real question. Should we change the name of the capital of the country? What should we do about George Washington?
George Washington is not like a Confederate general. George Washington is the founder of a country and put his life on the risk, put his life on the line in order to do so. He was a flawed human being, but he created a great thing. He was part of a great creation that's self-perpetuating and self-correcting. That's what the process is about. Yeah. And so the fact is that right now, we can get to George Washington in Washington, D.C., but right now we need to take care of these Confederate statues. And these
well, let me just say, I don't want to get to Washington or Washington, D.C. I want to rewrite the history of this country. I liked where you left off the first time, which is to say he redeemed himself by his good deeds, which he did. Reverend, thanks a lot for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
The left isn't just going after statues. They're trying to fleece your local governments, too. We recently talked to someone who supports an illegal immigrant who collected $200,000 from taxpayers after the city attempted to enforce the law. Watch. So here's someone who is in this country illegally
sues because the country enforced its own laws against him legally and then gets paid by the taxpayers of that country. Is there another place in the world where that happens?
Well, first of all, let's talk about the failure of this country to do immigration reform.
No. First of all, let's talk about the specifics of what happened in San Francisco. Wait, hold on. Slow down. I don't want to lecture on immigration reform. Let's talk about the specific case. Does that happen anywhere else?
But San Francisco had to create its own sanctuary law because of the failure of the federal government. So can you imagine that a law is passed and for 2 months you get incarcerated for showing up to the police department to reclaim your stolen car? Because that's what he did, correct?
He was in the country illegally. The theft of his car was one crime, but he had committed a crime himself by being here illegally. The police turned him over to the feds who wanted him, and now the city is paying him for enforcing American law. And I'm just noting the obvious, which is that's insane. You shouldn't pay a criminal for breaking the law, and that's what San Francisco is doing.
But San Francisco has a sanctuary law, correct? That law was enacted because the federal government failed to do reform for immigration. Congress failed, the Senate failed, Clinton failed, Bush failed, Obama failed. So San Francisco, being San Francisco, made sure that it protected those immigrant.
But just so you know, I mean, they failed to pass laws that you like, but our current immigration laws were passed by Democrats and Republicans in the Congress of the United States, in Washington. The system worked as it's supposed to work. People voted in public on these laws. The Republicans didn't do this. Democrats did it too. And it's the law. And so if you don't like it, then you go and you elect people who will change it. But until you do that, you can't ignore the law. That's how the system works. Why do you think that other countries don't do this? So if I go to Mexico, for example, illegally, I get put in jail for a longer term than an illegal would here. Why can't I sue the Mexican government for being mean to me and expect Mexican taxpayers to pay me for the indignity of having Mexican law enforced against me?
You want to go to Mexico? How many people live in Mexico that are not legal citizens, that are white, that come from the United States? Check out those
I don't know. Probably not very many, because I think they throw you in jail if you do that. Because they actually believe in their own country and they enforce their own laws.
When they go to Mexico.
Right. Okay. Roberto, good luck out there.
Thank you.
Thanks. Up next, we'll revisit our interview with Bill Nye, the television personality guy, the one where he said people who have questions about global warming are mentally ill. Stay tuned.